Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a real showdown between two giants of the data world, XML and JSON. You know, they're kind of the invisible languages that power basically every app and website we use. So if you've ever been curious about how all your data magically gets from point A to point B, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. I mean, really think about it for a second. You book a flight on a website, and boom, the confirmation just pops up in your phone's calendar app. Or you buy something online, and your banking app somehow knows about the transaction almost instantly. How do these completely separate systems, built by totally different people, speak the same language?
Well, the answer is this thing called a data interchange format. You can think of it as a shared set of grammar rules for structuring information. It lets a server halfway across the world send a chunk of data to your phone, and your phone knows exactly how to read it. It's basically the universal translator for our entire digital world.
And this is a problem that every developer, every company has to solve. For our digital lives to work, we need a standardized way to package up data. And for a long time, two main formats have really dominated this space, each with a completely different philosophy on how to do it.
You know, a really good way to picture them is like this. XML is kind of like a detailed legal contract. It's super formal, it's incredibly thorough, and it has strict rules for just about everything. JSON, on the other hand, is more like a quick, clear text message. It's direct, it's efficient, and it just gets right to the point with zero fuss. They both get the job done, but boy, do they do it in different ways.
So let's go ahead and properly introduce our contenders. In this corner, we have the seasoned veteran, XML. And in the other corner, the agile challenger, JSON.
Okay, right here, you can see the core difference immediately. Both of these are showing the exact same piece of data. See on the left, XML uses these descriptive opening and closing tags. It's very clear, but it's also pretty wordy. Now look at the right. JSON just uses these simple key value pairs. It's clean, it's super compact, and frankly, it looks a lot more like the code that developers are already writing every single day. So XML, which stands for Extensible Markup Language, has been the go-to standard for a long time. And it is incredibly powerful. Its strict tree-like structure and this ability to use something called schemas for validation make it super robust, especially for complex data. It was really designed to describe whole documents and can handle pretty much any data type you can imagine, from plain text to images. And then along came JSON, or JavaScript Object Notation. As the web evolved and we got these really interactive web apps, developers needed a faster, much lighter way to send data back and forth. JSON was basically born right out of JavaScript, the language of the web, and its simplicity was its secret weapon. It just focuses on the most common data types, which makes it incredibly fast and easy for modern applications to work with.
Okay, so we've got the powerful veteran versus the speedy challenger. How do they actually perform when the rubber meets the road? Let's put them to the test and look at some hard numbers from a few research studies.
Round 1, file size. So researchers took a data set with 100,000 different objects. When they wrote that data in XML, it took up 40 megabytes of space. Now, the exact same data, but in JSON format, just 13 megabytes. That's about a third of the size. All those extra descriptive tags in XML, well, they really add up. And that massive size difference has a huge impact on speed. So when researchers requested 10,000 records from a server, the XML data took 5.1 seconds to arrive. The JSON data, only 1.63 seconds. That is over 3 times faster, which in the world of web performance is an absolute eternity.
But hold on, what if we try to level the playing field a bit? You see, most modern web servers can actually compress data before they send it out, using a tool called gzip. So does this help the bulkier XML catch up at all? Well, the results are in, and nope. While compression definitely helps both, JSON still keeps its massive lead. The XML request time drops, sure, down to 4.14 seconds, but the JSON request gets even faster, clocking in at just 1.22 seconds. So the big takeaway here is pretty clear. Even with all our modern server tricks, JSON's lightweight structure just gives it this significant built-in speed advantage.
And this performance gap goes beyond just how fast the data travels.
Another study tested encryption time, a super common task. For a file with over 200,000 objects, it took 54 seconds to encrypt the XML version. The much smaller JSON file, just over 14 seconds. It's another huge difference. It shows that JSON isn't just faster to send, it's also faster to process once it gets there. So at this point, you're probably thinking, JSON is smaller and faster. It's gotta be the better choice, right? Well, not necessarily. You see, this performance gap isn't some flaw in XML. It's actually a direct result of a really fundamental design choice. It's a trade-off between features and simplicity.
Let's break down that trade-off. XML's special powers, if you will, are all about control and structure. It lets you use schemas for super strict data validation, and it can handle complex document formatting with things like comments and metadata. JSON's powers, on the other hand, are all about speed and efficiency. Its lightweight nature makes it super easy for any programming language to understand, and of course, it's a native citizen of JavaScript, which runs pretty much the entire web.
The researchers from one of the studies we looked at put it perfectly. They said, one of the main advantages of XML is represented by its flexibility. This flexibility comes with a cost. And that cost, as we've just seen, is performance. And that brings us to the most important question in this whole explainer. How do you choose? Because it's really not about finding a single winner. It's about picking the right tool for the specific job you're trying to do. Here's a simple 3-step way to think about it. First, just analyze your data's complexity. Are you dealing with a simple list of contacts, or is it a complex technical manual with layers of metadata? Second, you have to define your performance needs. Is this for a snappy mobile app where every millisecond counts? Or is it for a back-end system where being bulletproof is more important than raw speed? And third, look at your project's ecosystem. What technologies are you already working with? So here's the bottom line. You should choose XML when its features are an absolute must-have. If you're working with complex documents, think banking, government, or publishing, or strict validation isn't just nice, it's a requirement, then XML is your guy. It's also often the only choice when you're trying to connect with older legacy enterprise systems that were built around it. And you should choose JSON when speed and simplicity are your #1 priorities. If you are building an API for a web or a mobile app, JSON is pretty much the default choice these days, and for good reason. Its performance benefits are just too big to ignore, and the fact that it works so seamlessly with modern, JavaScript-based development makes it the path of least resistance for most new projects. So, in the big showdown between XML and JSON, there's no dramatic knockout punch. It's a split decision, and it all comes down to context. XML is still the undisputed champ for complex, document-heavy data where structure and validation are everything. But JSON is the lightweight world champion, absolutely dominating the universe of fast, efficient data exchange for our modern web and mobile apps. And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. As the amount of data in the world continues to explode, will simplicity always win out in the end? Or is it possible that a new contender will show up one day, one that can somehow combine the robust features of XML with the raw speed of JSON? The story of how we share data is definitely far from over. Thanks for watching.